In the 16th century, a man sat alone at night, staring into a brass bowl of water. What he claimed to see there would echo through history for nearly 500 years. He wrote of a fiery doom for a great new city, the rise of a terrifying emperor he called Napoleon Roy, and a global war led by a figure named Hister. His name was Michel de Nostradamus, but we know him as Nostradamus. For centuries, his cryptic poems have been picked apart, debated, and often interpreted as coming true with chilling accuracy. His followers claim he foresaw everything from the French Revolution to the atomic bomb and even the fall of the Twin Towers. But here's the critical piece of the puzzle. Nostradamus never made it easy. His prophecies are a tangled web of metaphors, anagrams, and archaic French, likely written that way to keep him safe from persecution. He almost never used specific dates, and scholars argue that connecting his verses to real-world events is mostly hindsight and wishful thinking. So why are we talking about him now? Because modern interpreters, poring over his 942 Quatrains, believe they've pieced together a terrifying timeline. Not for our past, but for our immediate future. These aren't direct predictions, but new interpretations of his ancient warnings applied to the decade from 2025 to 2035. They suggest a great war unlike any we've ever known. A series of disasters that could literally reshape our coastlines and an economic collapse that could bring the world to its knees. Are these the unavoidable events that will define our generation? Or are they just vague, centuries-old poems that mirror our own modern anxieties? Today, we're unveiling the 5 most chilling prophecies interpreters have laid out for the decade ahead. This is a journey into the heart of fear and prophecy, and it starts now. Before we look into the shadows of the next 10 years, we need to understand the man who cast them. Who was Nostradamus, and why have his words held such a grip on our imagination for so long? Born in France in 1503, Michel de Nostradamus was a man of science before he was a man of mysticism. He was a physician who bravely fought the plague, a scourge that would tragically take his own wife and 2 children. It was a devastating loss that many historians think pushed him deeper into the occult and the study of the stars. In 1555, he published his masterpiece, Les Prophecies, the Prophecies. It was a collection of 942 4-line poems called Quatrains. But these weren't straightforward predictions. Nostradamus himself said he made them deliberately difficult to understand. He used a cocktail of languages, Old French, Latin, and Greek, and filled his verses with word games and symbols. Most believe he did this to protect himself from the Holy Inquisition, which could have seen his work as magic and heresy. This intentional vagueness is exactly why his prophecies are both so fascinating and so controversial. Skeptics rightly point out that you can read almost any major event into his verses after it's already happened. It's a phenomenon called retrofitting. To date, there is no academic consensus that Nostradamus ever genuinely predicted a specific event before it occurred. And yet, the fascination continues. Why? Because the patterns he wrote about, war, famine, powerful leaders, and natural upheaval, are the timeless struggles of humanity. He drew from history, from authors like Livy and Plutarch, and from the Bible, and then projected those same patterns into the future. His supporters argue that this is the key to his genius. He wasn't predicting single events, but the cyclical nature of history itself. He even claimed his prophecies extended from now to the year 3797, a timeline that stretches far beyond his own era. And it's within that cryptic timeline that modern interpreters believe they've found threads leading directly to us. To the decade of 2025 through 2035. They argue that the planetary alignments, geopolitical tensions, and social fractures we see today match the conditions in his quatrains in a way they never have before. So as we explore these 5 prophecies, remember the line we're walking. It's a line between historical interpretation and modern anxiety, between an ancient text and our present-day reality. The question isn't just, what did Nostradamus predict, but what are his ancient warnings telling us about the world we live in today? The first, and maybe the most alarming prophecy interpreters have flagged for the coming decade, is about a massive global conflict. They don't see it as another regional war, but a great war involving 3 major world powers, a terrifying scenario some have linked to his most cryptic verses. The modern interpretation for the 2025-2035 period suggests a world divided and teetering on the brink. One verse that has caught the eye of today's analysts reads, "When Mars rules his path among the stars, human blood will sprinkle the sanctuary. 3 fires rise from the eastern sides, while the west loses its light in silence." Nostradamus didn't tie this to a specific year, but interpreters point to the powerful symbolism. Mars is the god of war. The 3 fires from the east are seen by many as a metaphor for rising Asian powers, while the west, losing its light, is interpreted as the declining influence of established Western nations. This lines up with another quatrain that many believe speaks to the exhaustion from long-term conflicts, possibly setting the stage for an even bigger one. One verse mentions, "Through long war, all the army exhausted, so that they do not find money for the soldiers." Some speculate this could point to the resolution of current conflicts, only for the exhaustion of the countries involved to create a power vacuum that a new, larger war quickly fills. Adding another layer of dread is the mention of a mysterious figure in a separate, hotly debated quatrain, a young black one. The text speaks of this figure being raised to a high position and the great plot that follows. While the historical context of this quatrain is totally unknown, modern interpretations have latched on to its ominous tone. They suggest the rise of a new, unexpected leader or entity whose actions could be the catalyst for this global showdown. Of course, these are all speculative connections. Nostradamus wrote about many wars, and his language is a minefield of metaphor. Critics argue that tying these verses to current events is a classic example of confirmation bias. We see what we expect to see. Still, for those who study his work, the convergence of these themes, a 3-sided conflict, the rise of the East, and military exhaustion paints a coherent and disturbing picture for the decade ahead. It's a picture of the world order breaking down, giving way to a struggle for dominance that could dwarf anything we've seen before. As if a world at war wasn't enough, interpreters believe Nostradamus also saw the engine of our modern world grinding to a halt. They point to several quatrains that they argue describe a complete global economic collapse, bringing famine, hyperinflation, and social chaos, potentially between 2025 and 2035. The heart of this prophecy comes from verses that speak of incredible poverty and hunger. The most cited one states, "The great famine which I sense approaching will often turn, in various areas, then become worldwide. It will be so vast and long-lasting that they will grab roots from the trees and children from the breast." For centuries, this was read as a prediction of a local famine, a common tragedy in the pre-industrial world. But looking at our interconnected global supply chain, modern interpreters see something far more sinister. They don't just see a crop failure. They see the collapse of the entire system that moves food and goods around the planet. In this view, the famine becomes worldwide, not because of a single drought, but because the financial networks that feed billions have been shattered. This theory is bolstered by other verses that seem to describe money becoming worthless. One quatrain points to a time when armies are exhausted and there's no gold or silver for the soldiers, forcing them to use leather. While this could be literal, modern readings see it as a powerful metaphor for hyperinflation, where currency becomes so devalued that society reverts to bartering or crude forms of money. The idea of money becoming worthless hits close to home amid today's anxieties about national debt and financial stability.
This book is your beginner's guide to understanding Scripture. Find peace, build relationships, and discover purpose in today's world. Ready to decode the Bible? Find Bible Decoded available on Amazon now.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, you can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos. Some analysts even suggest the period around 2025 could be a flashpoint, arguing that a perfect storm of trade wars, spiraling debt, and geopolitical instability, the same tensions from the Great War prophecy, could trigger this collapse. It suggests the economic and military prophecies might not be separate events, but intertwined, one feeding the other in a vicious cycle. Skeptics, naturally, maintain that Nostradamus wrote about famine because it was a constant part of 16th century life. They argue that applying these verses to modern economic systems is a major stretch. His writings are famously vague, and linking them to specific market crashes is pure speculation. And yet, the imagery is potent. A world where money is worthless and food is scarce taps into our most primal fears. It's a vision where the complex structures of our global economy are revealed to be fragile, capable of breaking under the strain of war, disaster, and greed. Whether you see it as a literal prophecy or a metaphorical warning, the message is clear. The foundations of our prosperity might not be as solid as we think. If an economic collapse of this magnitude were to happen, the consequences would be unimaginable. What do you believe is the biggest vulnerability in our global financial system today? Is it debt, inflation, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Beyond the wars of men, interpreters of Nostradamus believe he saw a future where humanity would be humbled by a force far greater than any army, the Earth itself. For the decade of 2025 to 2035, they've pieced together a terrifying vision of natural disasters on a scale that would rewrite our maps. One of the most intriguing verses for this theory is this one: Garden of the World near the new city, in the path of the hollow mountains. It will be seized and plunged into the tub, forced to drink waters poisoned by sulfur. For years, this quatrain was a total mystery. But with our modern understanding of geology, some interpreters have offered a chilling possibility. They suggest the Garden of the World could be a lush region like the Amazon. The hollow mountains could be volcanoes. In this reading, the prophecy describes a massive volcanic eruption near a new city that leads to cataclysm, maybe a mega tsunami or a blanket of poisoned ash and water. This interpretation feels eerily relevant today, as we're more aware than ever of the power of supervolcanoes. Other verses are interpreted as describing the extreme weather events that are becoming more and more frequent. Nostradamus wrote of great floods, droughts, and pestilence following environmental chaos. While these were common in his time, interpreters argue the scale he describes, events that affect entire nations and cause mass displacement, is more in line with the projected effects of global climate change. Let's be clear. Nostradamus never wrote the words climate change or supervolcano. These are modern concepts overlaid onto his ancient, ambiguous language. Researchers have pointed out that his prophecies focus on general disasters that happen throughout history, making it easy to find a verse that seems to fit. Still, the interpretations for 2025 to 2035 are striking because they don't just point to one disaster, but a cascade of them. They create a story of a planet under extreme stress, where volcanic activity, massive floods, and devastating droughts aren't isolated incidents, but connected symptoms of a world thrown out of balance. Whether Nostradamus really saw this, or whether we're just projecting our own climate anxieties onto his work, the warnings feel more urgent than ever. They challenge us to consider the terrifying idea that the greatest threat we face may not come from each other, but from the ground beneath our feet. In times of chaos and fear, people look for a savior. But what if the person who promises peace is the real architect of our destruction? This is the theme of the fourth major prophecy interpreters have laid out: the rise of a charismatic but evil leader, a great deceiver. This figure is most often connected to the theory of the three antichrists. Now, this theory is an interpretation developed by later writers. Nostradamus never explicitly laid it out himself. Over the centuries, interpreters have retroactively labeled Napoleon as the first Antichrist and Adolf Hitler as the second, based on cryptic references to Napoleon Roy and Hister. They now believe the time is coming for the third and final one to emerge. A key verse for this prophecy reads, "The Antichrist very soon annihilates the three. 27 years his war will last. The unbelievers are dead, captive, exiled, with blood, human bodies, water, and red hail covering the earth." The language is purely apocalyptic, a brutal 27-year war and unimaginable destruction. While some think this means a conventional war, others see it as a war on truth itself, a period of global deception led by this figure. Modern interpreters, looking at the 2025-2035 timeframe, believe this period could mark the beginning of this person's rise to power. This third Antichrist isn't imagined as some cartoon villain, but as a cunning and seductive leader. Nostradamus wrote of a figure who would, by his speech, seduce a great multitude. This person could rise from the chaos of the prophesied wars and economic collapse, offering simple solutions and false hope. He could unite enemies, create a temporary peace, and be hailed as a hero, all while setting the stage for an even greater tyranny. In our age of social media and viral influences, the idea of a single voice swaying millions is terrifyingly plausible. Skeptics correctly argue that the term Antichrist is heavily loaded and that Nostradamus didn't use it in this popular sense. The name only appears a few times in his work, and the entire theory of Napoleon and Hitler being the first two is a retroactive fit, an attempt to make sense of past tragedies using his poems. Nevertheless, the archetype of the charismatic deceiver is a powerful one. It speaks to a deep fear that in our desperation for order, we might willingly give our freedom to a tyrant. This prophecy isn't just about one evil person. It's a warning about ourselves. It suggests the greatest danger lies not in the wars or disasters to come, but in how we respond to them, in our vulnerability to the leader who promises to save us from the chaos, but who will instead plunge the world into a much deeper darkness. The final prophecy for the decade ahead shifts our gaze from the earth to the heavens. It's a warning written in the stars, a celestial event interpreted as either a final sign of doom or the trigger for it. This prophecy is mainly drawn from verses that describe a great star in the sky, a fireball from the heavens, and a long spark running. For many interpreters, the meaning is clear. Nostradamus foresaw a major cosmic event, like a large asteroid or comet, either hitting Earth or passing dangerously close. One modern translation circulating online reads, "From the sky shall come a fireball of great destruction, a sign of change, a time of ending and renewal." This prediction has gained a lot of traction, with many pointing to the years around 2025 as a possible time frame. It taps into a very real, scientific threat. We know asteroid impacts have caused mass extinctions before, and the possibility of it happening again isn't just science fiction. However, other interpreters offer a different take. They suggest the great star isn't a rock, but a man-made weapon. In this reading, the fireball from the heavens is a metaphor for a nuclear bomb, the final act of the Great War prophecy. The long spark running could be the trail of an intercontinental ballistic missile. This theory ties the celestial warning directly back to human conflict, suggesting our final act of foolishness will be to unleash the power of the sun on ourselves. A third, more mystical interpretation sees the event as a purely symbolic omen. It might not be a physical object at all, but a powerful astronomical event like a supernova, seen as a divine sign that the end times have begun. But before you start scanning the skies, let's inject a dose of reality. NASA and other space agencies actively track near-Earth objects, and as of late 2025 have not identified any known catastrophic asteroid threat for the 2025-2035 period. The idea of an imminent collision is pure speculation based on centuries-old poetry. Yet, the power of this prophecy is in its finality. Unlike wars that can be ended or economies that can be rebuilt, a major cosmic impact is an extinction-level event. It's the ultimate expression of our own powerlessness. Whether Nostradamus saw a literal asteroid, a metaphorical nuclear war, or just a sign in the heavens, the interpretation for the coming decade serves as a chilling reminder of our fragility in the grand cosmic scheme. So, after all this, what are we left with? A decade supposedly filled with war, collapse, disaster, deception, and a fiery warning from the heavens. We've journeyed through the 5 most chilling modern interpretations of Nostradamus' prophecies for the years 2025 to 2035. But what do we do with this information? Do we dismiss it as paranoid fantasy? Or do we build a bunker and wait for the end? The truth, as with anything related to Nostradamus, is probably somewhere in the murky middle. It's a fact that his prophecies are vague, and these detailed scenarios are modern interpretations, not his actual words. He never named the years 2025 to 2035, and yet it's also undeniable that the themes he wrote about, conflict, fragile systems, and our vulnerability to fear, resonate with a strange and unnerving power today. Maybe the real value of these prophecies isn't about predicting the future. Maybe it's about making us reflect on the present. They're like a dark mirror held up to our world, forcing us to look at the geopolitical tensions we ignore, the economic inequalities we accept, and the environmental warnings we dismiss. Nostradamus may not have been a divine prophet. He might have just been a very sharp student of history and human nature, a man who understood that the same patterns of greed, power, and destruction repeat themselves again and again. In that light, his prophecies aren't a locked-in fate. They're a warning, a call to be aware. The future isn't written yet. His ancient words leave us with one profound question. If these are the shadows of what might be, what are we going to do today to walk in the light?
Feeling anxious or disconnected? Ready for a deeper faith journey designed just for you? Discover Bible Study for Black Women. This guide nurtures faith, strength, and growth week by week. Overcome fear and connect with God. This empowering journey is waiting. Find Bible Study for Black Women on Amazon today and start building unshakable faith.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, you can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos.
Templar.